You're not an alcoholic. You're just a problem drinker. Those are the words I heard almost 8 years ago when I was in the midst of alcoholic hell and turmoil. I couldn't quit. I couldn't stop. Sure, I could get sober for 7 days, even 14 days, but I always went back to the bottle and I didn't know why. And trained therapists and professionals told me, you're not an alcoholic, which was music to my ears because if I'm not an alcoholic, that means I can continue to drink and I don't have to do anything about my problem. I just need to solve the problem drinking of not drinking too much. So if I could moderate my alcohol consumption, life would be grand. Life would be perfect, and I would just be a problem drinker who had a problem who can continue to drink for the rest of my life. Now, a lot of you guys are watching this video, listening, thinking, am I a problem drinker or am I an alcoholic? And these are the thoughts that plagued me and my buddy Terry here for many, many years. We didn't know whether to call ourselves alcoholics and check into the nearest AA rehab. We didn't know whether to go off alcohol cold turkey and strong arm it. We didn't know if we could moderate or just drink on weekends or maybe just drink after 5 o'clock. It's 5 o'clock somewhere, right? Which meant around the clock for me. We didn't know what to do. But here we are today, both 7 years sober, completely sober, not like teetotalers who are telling everyone alcohol is the devil. Alcohol is just a drink. It's not the devil at all. I didn't see any horns on the last bottle I drank, although that might sell if you're in the market for that kind of thing. So we got to look at this and we got to understand exactly what it means to be a problem drinker and what it means to be an alcoholic. Now, I got to tell you at the get-go, Terry and I are not doctors. We're not trained specialists. We don't have any letters after our name. We're just two guys who got sober. You always need to seek a doctor when looking for a diagnosis or treatment of anything, including alcoholism. With that said, let's open up the dialogue. Let's hear from you guys in the comments about what alcoholism is like for you, what problem drinking's like, and whether you think you're an alcoholic or not. Terry, how you doing? What are your thoughts on the subject?
I'm doing all right. It's a beautiful day here in California. You know, for many, many years, I figured, yeah, I might be a problem drinker. Actually, I kind of thought I was one step less, just a heavy drinker. And, maybe that was true. Maybe it wasn't. Maybe I've been an alcoholic for decades and decades. I don't know. But, I did have negative consequences from my drinking. That's kind of the definition for me for alcoholism is, do I keep drinking despite negative consequences? And in the end, that was definitely true those last few years. Absolutely. And I did figure I was an alcoholic at that point. But as far as problem drinking, most of my drinking career was heavy drinking. Then it became problem drinking. Then it became drinking on an alcoholic level, and I was addicted. Now, before I crossed that imaginary line, which is a very blurry line of alcoholism, it's hard to say if I was able to quit because I never really tried to quit for any length of time. And, that's one of the definitions of an alcoholic that I've seen as far as versus a problem drinker is, are you addicted or not? And, I may have been. I tried. I was able to cut back here and there. I remember going to the doctor many, many years ago, and he asked me how much I drank, and I'm like, a couple every night, pretty much. And, of course, I was lying. It was more like 4 or 5 or 6 every night. And I was just telling him 2, like most of us do. But he said, well, maybe you should take 1 or 2 nights off a week and give your liver a chance to get better, things like that. And so I did, and I was able to do it, but I just went right back to the drinking. And those days that I didn't drink, I was thinking about drinking the whole time. So I don't know, maybe that means I was an alcoholic at that point. I'm not sure. But it doesn't really matter because I realize I can't drink now. And that's the most important thing, is that I know I can't take even 1 drink because it will drive me back into that alcoholic insanity that many of us have experienced. And I don't want to do that again. So, yeah, it was a tough time having alcohol be the king and everything in my life revolving around it. And that's no longer the case. sobriety is pretty awesome.
Absolutely. And I remember when I was trying to figure out my drinking. I'm not going to say I was trying to quit because I was trying to figure it out. And in my brain, the idea was if I could figure this out, I can continue to drink. Because my dream was, yeah, I'd like to have two every night like the rest of the world. That'd be good because I like alcohol. I like drinking. I like the relaxing effects. But I found myself getting drunk over and over and over again, even when I didn't plan on it. Right? I would go out and be like, I'm only going to have two tonight. And then I'd be like, how did I get home? What did I do? How many did I have? Why are these empty bottles here? And why do I have no idea what's going on? And so I started to realize this and started to look at it and say, wait a minute. All of my time and all of my energy is consumed with managing this alcohol problem. I'm a problem drinker. And I was terrified to admit that I was an alcoholic because admitting I was an alcoholic said to me that, one, there's a stigma. You're like a loser in my brain. That's how I thought it was. And, you can't hold your liquor. And worst of all, worse than being all those things my brain thought, the worst thing is you were going to take away my alcohol. That was the scary thing. And I remember I walked into several therapists who said, you're not an alcoholic, you just are a problem drinker. Now, the definition of an alcoholic, as far as I understand it, is someone who continues to drink despite negative consequences in their life. Now, what are negative consequences? Well, they're problems, right? Like if I get a DUI because I drink, that's a negative consequence, but it's also a big problem in my life. Like now I can't drive, now I can't do this, now I can't do that. Or if, my kids can't be around me because I drink too much and I'm, unstable, right? That's a problem. I'm continuing to drink without dealing with these problems, right? Even though the problems are there, I keep drinking, I keep going after it. And the people that said I was a problem drinker, yeah, they're right. I was drinking even though there was problems in my life, which is the definition of an alcoholic. So I think by differentiating these terms, it's absolute horse crap because it's like, what does it matter, right? Like, what does it matter if I, get sick every time I eat a grape? What does it matter what we call it? The fact of the matter is stop eating grapes, you won't get the problem. Pretty simple. And the funny thing about alcoholism, you might be looking at things now thinking that if you admit to yourself you're an alcoholic, now there's this whole new set of problems of how am I going to deal with this? How do we live and act in the world without drinking? But what I actually found is that from getting sober, after about a year sober, took it easy for a year, I found out that all the things that I thought I needed to conquer, all the relationships I needed to mend, all the stuff I needed to do, kind of fell by the wayside. i.e., it wasn't as big of a problem as alcohol made it out to be. And this is interesting because so many people are hung up on problem drinker, alcoholic, guy who has booze at night, guy who's like the rip-roaring fun guy who's a binge drinker. There's all these names. But the question is, are you continuing to drink even though there's negative consequences or problems in your life? And when you look at this and you understand this, it takes all the stigma and all the junk away. Because here's the fact. The fact is, if you drink to a point where you get chemically dependent, meaning you feel like you need the chemical to live, right? Look at it. Look at how your life is. If you're here and you're watching and you're like, I'm waiting for these guys to tell me I'm a problem drinker so I can go to the bar. That's how I was. I was like, as soon as she said that, it was like she played a music to my ears. Because I can go to the bar, I'm just a problem drinker. It's just a little problem. Pour me a 25-ounce problem. Pour me a 50-ounce problem. Give me a bottle of a problem. That's how good of a problem drinker I was, but I didn't realize that no matter what you call it, I had gotten to the point of no return. Now, a lot of people think, incorrectly in my opinion, that they can manage this. Okay, well, I was able to quit for a week. I was looking at a video today. This guy's like, I've been sober for 7 days. Here's my secret. Same guy relapsed like 50 times in the last year, but now it's solved. And I think there's something bigger to look at because anyone can go 7 days. I mean, we go to the doctor and he's like, if you don't drink the next 7 days, you got to have a surgery. All of us can do that. We all have. But there's a point in our life when we become chemical and mentally dependent on alcohol. And when you reach that point, it's elusive. There's a fuzzy line. We don't know when it is. For you, it might be 2 drinks. For me, it might be 200. For Terry, it might be the first drink. Who knows what it is? Everyone's brain works differently. But the fact of the matter is if you have enough alcohol to get to that point, you now have a bigger problem than problem drinking, and you have chemical dependency, which you should go to the doctor for because it could be deadly, and you need to treat as chemical dependency. Alcohol might make us do things that are deemed in society as moral failures or belligerent acts. I'm not excusing that. We should all pay for the things we do when we're drinking because we chose to drink. But instead of treating this stuff, this guy's a bad guy, he doesn't care about anyone but himself, all he cares about is getting... Yes, all he cares about is that because he's chemically dependent. His brain has been chemically altered, and now he can't see the way out because he's chemically altered. And if you try to speak to the chemically altered brain, you're going to get nothing. And that's what so many people thought. Oh, is it a problem drinker? Is he this? Is he that? You're speaking gibberish to a brain that's hijacked by alcohol. What do you think about that, Terry?
That's great what you said. You know, there's a couple comments that had to kind of do with that. Patrick, he said alcohol dependent, problem drinking, alcoholic. It's all words with the exact same meaning. Tell Your Story says alcohol was a symptom of a bigger problem, but I did realize that problem only after I gave a name to the surface issue. After that, calling myself an alcoholic, I drove deeper into myself. And for me, I do identify myself as an alcoholic, and basically that means I'm chemically dependent on alcohol. If I drink anything, that obsession will kick in, and I'll need to keep drinking. And so that's why I have to not drink. But at the same time, I don't put that much meaning into the words alcoholic or problem drinker or anything like that. I just know I can't drink. And it's really, I really try to keep it that simple. So from there, I'm able to dig deeper into the bigger problem, which is why, or not necessarily why did I drink too much, but what do I need to do to not have those cravings, not have that sudden thought, or be able to deal with the situations where I get that sudden thought, where I've said it many times when I was at a professional baseball game and I saw this beer that this guy had and it just looked delicious. What do I do about that? So I have to develop a toolkit and things that I can do when I get that sudden craving. I saw that beer, I was like, man, that looks delicious. It's hot out here, that's ice cold, man, that looks great. So I went down to my toolkit, and what am I going to do? Well, you know what, I've been sitting here in the hot sun, I have nothing to drink. Let me go get a Coke. So I was able to take some time, pause for a second. I was able to take care of my thirst right away, and a little bit of sugar helped out right there too with the Coke. And I was fine then. The craving went away. And that's the important thing, is moving forward, I have to have these tools. And that's something that our program addresses a lot about, is developing that mindset, developing that toolkit that you can use when you do get those cravings. And for me, that's the most important thing, the whys and why it happened, why I became an alcoholic. And the people, well, I actually didn't go to a therapist or anything like that told me I wasn't an alcoholic. I just lied to them, and when they asked how much I drank, 1 or 2 every couple of days, But I don't worry about that stuff anymore. I worry about what am I going to do moving forward. So that's kind of my take on everything you were talking about. But yeah,
I think that's interesting too, because Tell Your Story has a very valid comment, and I think it's important, and I think a lot of people do look at this.
Yes.
Here on this channel, we're kind of out there. We look at things a little bit different than mainstream, if you haven't noticed. And I remember thinking that alcohol was a symptom of a bigger problem for me. Like, oh, hey, alcoholism is because of this that happened when I was a kid, or this that happened here, or this that happened here. And I got really hung up on that, and it was very difficult because I thought, okay, if I could solve these issues, issue with my mom, issue with my dad, issue with whatever, anxieties, all my insecurities. If I could deal with these, then I wouldn't drink. Funny thing about that is the fact that I was an alcoholic had nothing at all to do with that other stuff. Now, the fact that I drank for anxiety, sure, absolutely. I drank because I was anxious. I drank to talk to my family because, if you've met my family, sometimes you need to drink to talk to them. Not really. I haven't for 7 years. But you start to understand these things and you're like, okay, that might be the reason I picked up, but that's not the reason I'm chemically dependent. And chemical dependency has nothing to do with that other issue. And this for me was life-changing because I thought fix, then the alcohol. No, sir. It was alcohol, then deal with other stuff if it's even an issue anymore. Because what that was doing was giving me an excuse to drink. Oh, of course I drink too much. It's because of this, and this. No, I drink too much because I'm chemically dependent. Boom, stamp it, done. Deal with that issue, put it in a box, separate it from everything else. Then look at the stuff in your life. In my opinion, that's really how it works. Ben says, how do you get the chemically dependent brain to stop drinking? That's exactly the same thing. You put everything on the back burner. When I got sober, I had a business to run. I had 2 young kids. I had a wife. I had a house we were in the middle of selling. We were in the middle of moving from California to Florida. I had run out of money because I was a drunken, not worker guy, right? I was struggling. And all of a sudden, I find myself in a mental hospital and I need to go to rehab for 30 days. Now, I had a lot of stuff going on. A lot of stuff. It'd be easier to go to rehab today. Right? It's like, just walk in there, you're fine, you get it. But back then, it seemed like life or death, and it was. And it seemed like it was a big inconvenience. But I had to realize that I needed to do what I needed to do to learn how to stay sober. And what I learned was you have to combat what the addicted brain is telling you with facts. What are the facts? Will one other beer help you? Or one other drink, or whatever? No, it doesn't. I've proven over and over to myself that having 1, having 20, having 100 does not help. Fact. Next fact. I'm chemically dependent. I'm an alcoholic. Whatever you want to call it. Fact. Next fact. What am I going to do to not drink? First of all, if I'm chemically dependent and I'm going through detox, get my butt to the nearest doctor. Because if I didn't get to the doctor, I'd have problems. Terry didn't get to the doctor, he'd have problems. There's lots of stuff going on here. Medical health stuff. You got to get to a doctor no matter what. And we need to understand that. Then, what it's about, like the guy who we talked about who stayed sober 7 days, even though he relapsed a bazillion times, we need to realize what are we going to do to get us past 7 days? And then what are we going to do? Because once you get past like a week or 2, it's all mental. The chemical stuff is gone. Now you just have cravings and mental stuff, which does produce chemicals in your body, but not drunk chemicals. The chemical dependency I'm talking about is the dependency where you think you need alcohol to live. I've been there. It sucks. It's not fun. And the chemical dependency of now that I've put the chemical in my brain, it is now making me react and live chemically altered. Right? This is why you get in fights when you drink, right? Not because the guy called you some name that if you were sober you wouldn't even care about, but because now you're altered and you can't decide whether to have the other drink. I mean, you can, but it's the alcohol deciding. It's that old adage, the man takes a drink. The drink takes a drink, and then the drink takes the man. Meaning, the first time, I take a drink. It's me, I pick it up, take the drink. The next time, my brain's already chemically altered. So now it's the drink taking a drink. And then the next time, the drink completely takes over me. And this, my friends, I have proven to myself enough to probably prove it to all you guys that it does not work. Doesn't work. How many times do you have to prove it to yourself? And Terry was talking about our program we have. Over the last 7 years, Terry and I have come up with a program based on letters and videos and PDFs to help you get that the mental stuff kind of help you get, what am I looking for here? Help you with it, the mental stuff, to help you
It helps
understand
get
what's
you into
going
that
on.
sober mindset. And
There
that's
you
what we're
go.
talking about. And that's what I try to do is live in that sober mindset right now. And
Absolutely.
that's the key for me is living a sober life. And Ben, you're talking about that, the chemically dependent brain to stop drinking.
Mhm.
And this program is something that can help you with that. And other things is getting stop hanging around the alcoholic friends and things like that, at least for now. And
Yep.
start hanging around some sober people. We need help. I needed help. I'm an isolator. I don't want to open up to other people, but I had to stay sober, and I had to do what it was going to take, and that meant getting help from other sober people that have been there, and we've been there, and that can help you get through these situations where you might start drinking again. But go ahead, Marcus. You got it all
Yeah,
lined up there.
absolutely. Yep. And if you guys do want to join that course and help out what we're doing on the channel, it is less than $1 a day, which is less than, I don't know, probably $1 a day is enough to save up and get that beer that Terry wanted at the ballpark. They are about $30 these days, but
Okay.
it'll help you. It'll help what we're doing here on the channel. It helps spread the message. So if you like what we're talking about and you want to support what we're doing, and also get a bunch of tools to help you get and stay sober, whether you just got out of rehab, whether you're trying to navigate this sobriety world, which is, it's difficult. I wish at the time I got sober there was more education. I wish it wasn't just like, yeah, you're a damn drunk, go to the rehab. I'm glad I went to the rehab, but I wish there was education of, this is what's going on with you. This is what's going on. Very important. And if you do want to get that and support what we're doing here on the channel, you can go to talksober.com. I wish I could put this over my face while I'm talking. I always feel bad when I put it over Terry, but watch what happens. It just doesn't work. You can't do that. It doesn't go over there. Something about the layers or something. But at any rate, you can go to talksober.com. You can click the big yellow button. You fill out this 100% secure form with a name, last name, email address, put your card and everything. It's $27 a month. You can cancel whenever you want. Pretty simple, pretty easy, less than $1 a day. You'll get access to all kinds of stuff. I think I can log in and show you what the stuff looks like. It's really good. It's actually from my heart. A lot of these letters that I wrote were difficult to write. One that I'm working on now is extremely difficult. It's about the stuff I'm dealing with my dad and the stuff he's going through, which a lot of you guys know if you've been watching. But a lot of these letters they're what I've dealt with sober and how I got through it and what the mindset was like. And you can see here, you go through here, you watch the welcome video, you got the sobriety contract, which is not like a contract. You're not going to like send this to the government or something. It's just for you, right? To keep track of your sobriety. Maybe give it to a friend, or you could post it in the sobriety group or whatever. Simple, right? And then it shows you what to do if you have decided you're an alcoholic, what to do next. And then it goes through a complete sobriety 30-day plan. What you do is you read the letter, watch the video about the letter, and take some exercises. It's very simple. The letters are really easy. They're like 10 pages each, but they will open your mind to what's going on and what I learned and why it helps me stay sober. Very, very important. So you could go through those each day. Sober Journey, Obsession of the Mind. You look at the MP4 here, which you could download, put on your phone. You could get the PDF, put it on your phone or your tablet or whatever the fancy people are using these days. Talks about the reptile brain, ideas to beat alcoholism, returning to center, what's the deal with denial. The 2-foot drop, this is a very, very important one. And the idea here is to go through this more than one time, because what's going to happen is it's kind of going to go through and adapt to what you're going through that day, right? Very important. And there's all kinds of stuff here that you can go through that's going to help you understand sobriety from a different point of view, a point of view that, frankly, I had never heard. And you guys see I'm a bookworm, right? And I've read a lot of books, and there's schools of thought from, alcohol is poison to there's no such thing as alcohol problem, it's just willpower. And that didn't work for me. I was like, willpower doesn't work. And just calling alcohol a poison, I mean, I didn't give a crap what you called it as long as I got a big glass of it. I didn't care, right? And so I think it was important to look at what is there for the rest of us? What about the rest of us that are, we work, we live in society, we're functioning for the most part, maybe not well, but we are functioning. What can we do to understand how alcoholism is? Because when I got sober, it was basically, hey, you're either like the dude on the curb who can't stop drinking, or you're the guy in the high rise making millions of dollars, you're the greatest person. And there was no middle ground. There was no, hey, we're all alcoholics, we're all dealing with this. Here's how it works. Here's how to get through this. Very, very important. And again, if you want to support the channel and get that, go to talksober.com, click the big yellow button, fill this out, we'll say thank you. And you can also get a private sobriety call with me and Terry. These are actually getting popular lately. And that supports us, and you also get a 1-hour call with us. You can say whatever you want, ask whatever you want, talk about sobriety. Also, if you don't want to buy anything, you can go here and join the Facebook group and check out some other free resources over at talksober.com as well.
Right on. Let's get to a couple comments then.
Sure.
Ashes of Eden says, my friend used to... Oh, wait, I wanted to go back to your first one. I think you say, I think some people are predisposed to substance use. I think slowly replacing your vices with less harmful things instead of going cold sober is a valid option. My friend turned to kratom, I don't know what that is. For me, I had to stop everything. I do get your point of replacing your vices with less harmful things. For me, what I did replace my vices, but not with other vices. It was more of a way of life that I don't have to run away from. And there are certain things that I do in my sobriety that keeps me from getting into that isolation mode, which is where I was in those last few years of drinking. And that's just activities, things like going on bike rides, walking my dog, going on hikes, getting out there. I go camping a lot, things like that. I ride my bicycle a lot, things that take up time, things that I very much enjoy doing. I know a lot of people can't do all the physical things I do, but there's other things you can do, like starting to read books and I don't know, needlepoint. I did other things that don't require so much physical activity. But I think the key is, for me, when I got sober, is to find things that I like to do. And I started with things that I used to do before alcohol really started to rule my life, and that's all I was doing. And for me, it was cycling and hiking and walking the dogs. And I just started to embrace that. And I do that. I do those things all the time now, and I do other things like trying to learn stuff. I built a brick wall, and I had to learn how to build a brick wall, and that was my last project. And is it perfect? No, especially that first layer, But I learned, and learning is an important thing for me as I move forward in sobriety. What's that?
I think also when he was talking about replacing things with different vices or different stuff, one, I would never go to a mind-altering type thing.
Correct.
Because us alcoholics, we're very sensitive to things that alter our mind. And one thing I will say, when I went to rehab, everyone smoked cigarettes, and I don't like cigarettes. So I took up an old habit that I had years ago. Not really a habit before. I occasionally had a cigar. And I took up that old habit in rehab because I was like, hey, I don't want to be the only guy not smoking. I need something to do because I'm jittery and, I'm here in rehab, so I'll get my cigars. I smoked cigars for about 7 years, and I quit a couple of months ago. I'd like to say that I quit because I'm Mr. Willpower Man, but no, I quit because watching my dad go through throat cancer, which I think is cigars didn't help, but that's not why he got it. Helped me quit. But what I'm kind of leading to here is, by having that little bit of a vice, the cigar smoking, it trained my brain to need something to go and be okay. So I'd get in a fight with the wife, I'd go outside and have a cigar, and I'd be okay. I'd have to go somewhere where I knew I'd be anxious. I'd have to have a couple cigars before I went to that event, or I'd have to have one at that event, so I knew I got an excuse to leave if I need to leave. I've learned in the months that I have not been smoking that there are other ways. It's kind of like with alcohol, right? You want to quit alcohol, but you think, what the hell am I going to do if I can't get a little buzzed or take the edge off? What am I going to do? Terrifying. It's absolutely terrifying. I went through it. Everyone goes through it. Cigar smoking kind of pushed that back a bit, and I didn't learn a lesson that I probably could have learned over the last 7 years, and now I'm learning it now. And, dealing with other substances, unless it's doctor prescribed and under doctor supervision, I wouldn't do it, because you're missing out on a lesson. You're missing out on a lesson. And I'll take you to some guys that I like to listen to back in the 60s, hippie guys, right? These guys were big into mind-altering drugs and things like that. And what they both noticed, there was Ram Dass and there was Alan Watts. What they both noticed is that once you got the effect from one of those things, they didn't need it anymore. And they also noticed that the people that they were looking up to, the gurus in India or whatever, never used that stuff. But yet they got the same experience or enlightenment that these people in America got from the drugs. And the moral of the story is you can get the result you want and you can feel the way you want to feel without the drugs and alcohol and other stuff. And it's interesting because there was a guy that I like to listen to before I got sober, and I still listen to him quite a bit now. Disclaimer, I think he's kind of, out there. And disclaimer also, I think he had a coke problem for a while. But what he was talking about was interesting, okay? And this is something I learned in rehab, because before I got sober, I wouldn't listen to anyone if they had one speck on their record. Oh, that preacher did this. I can't listen to him. This guy had this. And in recovery, I learned to listen to everyone, the opinions, without taking offense, because there's something you can learn from everything. Learning is an active process. You're sitting there, you are learning from us, right? This is just digital stuff out in cyberspace, me and Terry talking to the wall. If you learn anything, it's because of you, not because of us. Very important. But what he said was, he was talking about something interesting because he had worked with lots of people in mental hospitals, and he learned that a lot of the effects, like the effects of being drunk, that is an effect your body has to the substance alcohol. It's a reaction. It's like an allergy, right? Like an allergy, okay? This tree out here gives me an allergy. Is the tree causing me to puff up and get all messed up like I was yesterday because I didn't have my allergy pill? No. My body's response to the tree. So my body already knows how to puff up and get all weird. My body already knows how to get drunk and feel this. My body already knows, and my mind already knows how to get enlightened, if you want to call it that. My body and my mind already know how to produce these things. Your body knows how to produce calm. You're just saying, oh, it's because of the alcohol. Yeah, okay, well, years and years and billions of dollars of commercials have led you to believe that. But you know what? As Jerry Springer would say, it's revealed that's a lie. It's a lie. It's not true. Your body is producing all this stuff, not the alcohol. So I think it's very important to look at. I know that was a long-winded rant. So now let's take another commentary. Commentary. Well, we'll start calling you commentary.
Very good long-winded rant. Tell your story just kind of sums up what you just said. I'm not a huge fan of replacing one substance for another. I'm in a continual cycle of numbing, better to try and learn to develop healthy coping mechanisms that keep us in the here and now. And I just wanted to say that one real quick. We kind of have touched that topic already, but yeah, coping mechanisms that work. I in the same boat as Marcus. No mind-altering substances. It's super important for me to experience life, and it's absolutely rewarding to experience life, even the negative things that happen. Marcus is going through some difficult things right now. I went through some difficult things this last couple of years. Well, both of us did, and I was very happy that I was able to be sober and be there and help others in my family and help myself through these situations. And it's Just and it's an amazing thing to be able to do sober without any mind-altering substances. But moving on.
Absolutely. And Ashes of Eden, we could pray for your dad too. We could pray for
Yes.
everyone's dad.
Absolutely.
Everyone's thoughts and prayers are important. More important than the TV.
And Al,
makes them out to
I
be.
saw your comment earlier about your wife having a heart attack, and prayers for that too, brother. I saw you commented also on Facebook, and I hope everything's recovering good right now, man. It's always good to see you here. Let's see, what do we got? Dawn says, once I got educated on what had happened to my mind, chemical imbalance, from drinking, the light bulb came on, and it opened a new sense of hope to beat this. Yes, absolutely. Marcus has already talked a lot about that earlier, and for me, that was just the same thing once I realized that it's not me being weak and not having enough willpower and, just not having the answers. I realized that, okay, I can do this, but I have to get help. I have to have somebody show me what to do because I didn't know exactly what to do. And that was where the light turned on, and I realized I can move forward. For me, you know what? The most difficult part of getting sober was that getting through the detox. For me, a lot of people, they have difficult time after detox, and that tends to be more difficult for them. For me, detox was just horrible, and I could never get through it, and that's why it took me so long to finally get professional help. And when I did, and I was able to get through it, then I was able to move forward, and I just felt a new freedom. That's when that light bulb turned on for me is, wow, I can stay sober. But how? And that was the big question. But fortunately, I was able to get involved with people that were sober, that have stayed sober, and started to do what they did, and started to listen to what they suggested. And that got me on the road, and I'm still sober today. How about that?
Absolutely. And the cool thing is, both Terry and I can admit we both need professional help. I like being able to say that, right? So, Ashes says, Marcus and Terry, dying is just a part of life. We all have to be prepared for this. Absolutely. I look at death completely different now than I did before I was sober. Now it's, I thank the universe, or whatever you want to call it, for giving me that person. Right? I was gifted something by being able to be part of this person's life. And it's not so much, sure, of course you're going to grieve the loss, and the person's not with us right now in that type of way. They might be in molecules out there somewhere, but not in a way that we could see them and go hang out and joke about things. And that's a tip that my dad continues to teach me, even in his difficult time, is that always take things lightly. There's some things that are serious, but always have a sense of levity, because a lot of the things that we deal with are within the construct of our current believing. We have this current way of believing that life should be. This is how it should be. I should be this age when I pass. I should have this much money. I should build my life this way. This is how other people should treat me. And we go through life trying to make everything in our box rather than joining the dance that is and saying, hey, this is what it is. Dying's a part of life. This is a part of life. Currently, I'm struggling with alcoholism, but I'm going to learn and understand how to get out of that, because I realize that no amount of drinking is going to help any situation I'm ever in. Nothing. Doesn't really help. People were joking about, the health stuff we dealt with in 2020 and 2021. Alcohol helps. It's like, nah, it doesn't really. Like, there's a lot of alcoholics that were created during that time, probably because they were around to drink as much as me. I just had a work-from-home job before everyone else did, so I had the booze right there. And a lot of people are finding that that's a thing. And when we look at it and say, hey, it doesn't matter what you call this stuff, alcoholism, problem drinking, whatever, I need to solve this. I need to deal with it. And if you guys do want to check out the talksober.com, go to talksober.com, click the yellow button. You could support the channel by just going here and filling this out, and then you'll get all kinds of letters and PDFs and things to help you get and stay sober. And if you want to talk to Terry and I personally, it's both of us on a call for 1 hour. It goes to supporting the channel and furthering the message that we have. You can click here, And then you can get all the free resources down here as well.
Yep. Tell your story said acceptance is the key, just like death. All we really know is that the ones who love us will miss us. That's comforting. Yeah, absolutely. Sorry, my dog's barking at the construction guys in the background. They're replacing my sidewalks and streets and all that, and they're out front of my house.
There's an interesting thing I will add to that as well. When you talk about the people that love us will miss us, I truly believe that we go on in a sense, like my dad goes on in the four of us. Terry goes on in the things that he's built in his life and his family. I go on in what I've built and my family. Things like this, right? Talking. Hopefully the words that we say will impact you guys and you'll take those with you. That's a part of us going on. And I think that if we put that out into the world, put the good stuff out into the world, that's what really changes stuff, right? If we live in a way where it's not so much about what I want and I get, which is our current culture, and that's what really helped me keep drinking was I'm not getting what I want, like a little 4-year-old throwing a tantrum, and then I learned the universe doesn't care what I want. As much as The Secret and the law of attraction will tell you that the universe is waiting to give you your every desire, it's BS. And then when you get your every desire, you're going to find out you didn't really desire it in the first place because you had no idea what you were thinking. And when I look at life now, yeah, I desired lots of things. I wanted to be butt-ass rich. That's what I wanted before I got sober. I was like, that'll solve all my problems. Like, I can have problems, but if I got a helicopter with a private jet attached to it and I could go to space like the rich people do, apparently, then all my damn problems would go to space with me for the 12 seconds I just spent, the government just spent $10 billion for. It was your tax dollars that funded it. But that's for a different webinar. When we look at this and we understand, I gotta laugh at myself sometimes, and when we understand, now I'm completely content with sobriety. And everything else is a plus. Hey, cool, we got this. This did good in business. This did bad, whatever. It's all part of life, but I start from a base place of gratitude because I'm alive. I'm not in a mental hospital. I'm not an alcoholic. I'm not scrounging around to drink. I'm free. And that freedom, you can't put a price tag on that. It doesn't exist. And when you understand that, I think that's what they were trying to say in the AA Big Book, which, Terry, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. I think that's what they were trying to say with the fourth dimension of living. Like, if you stick with it long enough, you'll get to the fourth dimension of living, which is realizing that the other dimensions aren't even real, and all the stuff that you're holding on to and is making your life difficult doesn't really exist, in a sense.
Well, the freedom is incredible that we get with sobriety. And, I have the freedom to start drinking too. So, that I have absolute freedom for what I'm going to do. One thing I am not free to do, but that's a self-imposed, is I'm not free to take that drink. So that being said, I'm free to do everything else. And that's huge in my life. And, having that freedom from alcohol right now and not having to do anything, it just makes life so much better. Some of the things that I get to experience in my sobriety, they're incredible, and that's where that fourth dimension of existence comes in, is just living things day by day. And I do worry about the future. I do regret some of the past things, but at the same time, I'm able to accept what's going to happen. I make plans for the future, and I try to follow through on those plans and have things work out in the right direction. But at the same time, I can only control so much. I can control what I do, and I can't control what's going to happen. So many times my plans get changed. And part of acceptance that was mentioned earlier is just being able to accept those things that happen. And that's huge for me. That allows me to keep that serene life going. And Marcus mentioned gratitude. Gratitude's huge for me. Waking up every morning, thinking about what I'm grateful for. Being specific. Think about specific things I'm grateful for. These construction guys are making all sorts of noise outside. It's difficult to get in and out of my driveway and all that stuff. But I'm going to have a brand new street. It's going to be nice. It's going to be smooth. No more potholes everywhere. There's one tiny, tiny, stupid little thing to be grateful for. But hey, it puts me in a better mood, definitely. The guys out there are really nice. I talk to them. They try to make arrangements for me if my driveway is going to be blocked and all that. And I'm grateful for that. They could just be buttheads and say, nope, we're blocking you off. You can't get out. You can't get back. You're going to have to park somewhere else if you want to use your car. They could easily do that. So I'm grateful for things like that. And yeah.
I'm going to let you take Ben's, since that's up your alley right there. It says...
tell your story?
Yep. Ben starts with tell your story.
Tell your story. Yes, I am putting all my spare time into becoming a great chef. I left the field, but now will do it on my own time at home. Been buying equipment and spices. Never gets old to cook. Well, I am a chef. Am I a great chef? I don't know. I don't like to say I am or not. I've been a chef for 40 years, I guess. Started when I was very, very young at a place called Burger King. Guess I wouldn't be called a chef at that place, but whatever. But I guess we can kind of tie this into alcoholism. One thing I do is, for at least at home, I don't cook with alcohol. And you can still cook great food without alcohol. It's very easy to do, and you just have to learn. YouTube can be your friend, Ben, as far as cooking goes, but as far as what I do is I make sure that while I'm cooking, I taste. You need to taste your stuff as you're going along, and you need to put things in the pans in order. Start with onions, carrots, celery, add your garlic a little later, sear your meats properly, things like that. Seasoning's important. You don't have to use a lot of salt on things. Herbs and spices are very good. But, if you want to become a great chef, it's just like anything. It's a matter of practice and trying to learn, trying to be open-minded for what works. What I've seen in the industry and over all my years is there tends to be some egos involved in the chef world. And what I found is just being open and accepting everything. That tends to work for me. That's the same thing in life and not drinking. It's just being open-minded for what other people's ideas are. And that helps me learn. So stay teachable.
Absolutely. And also, one of the things I do is, ever since I got sober, like before I got sober, cooking was I loved cooking, but it became a drag. Because it was like, oh my God, what am I going to cook? All these people want to eat this stuff, and I'm the cook at home. And I love cooking. If I wasn't doing what I do for a living, I'd probably start a restaurant where you have to eat what I'm making that night. No questions. That's what we have, right? I find that now it's a process. Like on Sundays, I like to relax, and I'll usually slow cook something either outside or inside. And I like it to make it a process, because I think as our culture, we got into this fast food mindset, and our kitchens have become sterile, like almost medical kind of equipment, instead of like this place where we go to eat and make beautiful things and make good dinners and healthy stuff. And I think it's really interesting to look at. And also, my key to cooking, if I could have my opinion from being my home chef, that would probably get laughed off of any professional cooking line, is be creative and trust your nose. Because you can really get ideas. Like the other day, I went and I got Vietnamese soup, which is incredibly difficult to make. It's like a day-long process to make the broth. and I got my, the bones and the marrows and all that, and I made the broth. And I was at the Vietnamese place because I went there to eat it so I could try to recreate it. And I'm like, there's some Indian spices in here. And she's like, no, there's no Indian spices. And I'm like, okay, maybe they're not like straight up like curry, but I know these spices. And I had it in my brain. And then one day I was like, chai tea. I was like, wait a minute, chai tea? What are you talking about? Chai tea is an Indian tea. And I put chai tea in the beef broth, and it was like you couldn't tell the difference. It was crazy. It was weird, but like little things like that. But yeah, learning to take the things that are mundane and everyday and look at the process and the beauty of them. Like I get to make food that hopefully most of the time, knock on wood, people enjoy. Like right now, when I go visit my dad, I do the shopping, I do the cooking because I love it, and he eats it. I'm like, hey, what do you want? And right now it's difficult to get him to eat sometimes. And so I'm like, hey, what do you want? I'll cook it, whatever it is, I'll make it. And he usually likes it quite a bit. And when we go and do the Alabama trip we're going to do with my dad, I'm like, I'll handle the cooking. We'll do it. Everyone likes it. And it's my blessing to be able to do that, where I could look at it as, oh my gosh, I got to get in a motorhome, which is not my cup of tea, and go cook all the time, which is, it's stressing. But now I realize that in this thing that people look at as a stress, I can actually utilize it as like a meditation, as a process. I'm getting to bless these people with food, and I'm getting to try new things, and all this stuff, and it's very good until someone doesn't like my food. Then I get all bent out of shape, right? Then wonderful Buddhist Marcus is like, what the hell? You don't like my stuff? What are you talking about here? Get out of here. But I still try, because not everyone's going to like everything. But luckily, it's usually pretty good.
Steering this a little bit more towards the alcohol issue, Ben, this is a really good activity to do with other sober friends. Definitely. What I used to do years ago was my previous wife. Now, we did this with wine as well, so I was still drinking, and it was kind of before drinking really got out of control for me, but you can absolutely do it without alcohol. But we had a friend that didn't know how to cook, and my ex-wife and I, we both knew how to cook. She wasn't professional, but she had a good teaching mother, so she knew how to cook as well. And so we invited her over. And then we said, okay, every Thursday night we're going to teach you something to cook. Now what you need to do is you need to tell us what you want. And if we don't know how to cook it, we're going to figure it out and teach you how to do it. That's what we did. And every Thursday night. And then we started bringing more people in. And eventually sometimes we'd have 10, 12 people. And this is a great way to have a sober activity. Just, okay, oh, you're a new person. What do you want us to cook? And sometimes it would be the Indian food or a tandoori chicken or something like that, and we'd have to figure out how to cook the tandoori chicken without a tandoor oven, which is a difficult thing to do.
It's difficult with a tandoor oven.
Yeah.
It's so hard to make with a tandoor.
But we'd have to learn that stuff, and that's an incredible sober activity to do. So that can get you out of the alcohol mindset, get you into a sober mindset, something that's fun. I know the recovering alcoholic events that I go to, food is a big part of it. Absolutely. We love our food. And I tend to cook at a lot of them, so I get to have fun doing that and hang out with other sober alcoholics. It's fun.
Absolutely. And I'll close this off with one story, unless there's a comment that you see needs to be answered.
Okay.
Is there any super pressing?
I'm looking at the last few right now.
Okay. And while he's looking for that, if you guys do want to support the channel and get all kinds of things to help you get and stay sober, go to talksober.com, click the big yellow button, fill this out. You'll get instant access to all of our sobriety tips and our course. It's like a 30-day course. It's meant to be, you go through it several times if you can. If you want to get a private call with me and Terry, some people just use these calls to talk about what they like about what we talk about, which is kind of cool. We got the live show, we got all kinds of free resources and stuff, but if you do want to support us, less than $1 a day, you can get in there and support what we got going on.
Thank you,
All right.
everybody. Lots of great comments. Appreciate everybody's input today.
And I will end with this one story, which has to do with cooking and alcoholism. We always grew up with gas grills, and Dad always did the barbecuing, but we never learned to barbecue. And when I moved out, we were in this mobile home, me and my brother, and we got this little charcoal grill. It was like, I mean, you could just hold the thing. It was like a little potbelly grill, like a $15 grill. And when I started barbecuing on this grill, we would get the matchlight charcoal, which, I don't know, get a chimney. Don't use matchlight. Much better for you, I think. And I thought that in order to make your food, the charcoal had to be on fire. Like, this is my thinking. I was like, you can't cook without fire. It's not hot enough. I mean, they got to be on fire. And so I would light the matchlight charcoal, and all the chemicals would come up, and I'd throw my steaks on, and they're getting all the chemicals in the steaks, and then they'd go out. And I'm like, well, it needs more lighter fluid. It's got to have fire. I'd squeeze that lighter fluid. I'd light that bad boy up again. More chemicals and more junk would go in, and our steaks taste like absolute crap. Yeah. And they were just bad. It was like, man, I don't know. You need to learn how to do this. And I didn't know how to cook. And I thought that the stress had to be that the charcoals had to be on fire. I didn't realize that you let the charcoal sit for 10 minutes, they get white, and they're hot, right? Seriously, they're hot. But I didn't understand this so much that I almost lit a gigantic fire on accident, because I thought if the charcoal was out and it wasn't on fire, you could throw it away. Bad. Do not do that. But I was a little misguided 20-year-old or 19 or whatever I was back then. And so it's kind of like life in a way where we think that everything needs to be on fire and going and working. We need to be hustling. We got to be doing this stuff. We can't relax. We can't just live in this moment. But the key is, you're always living in this moment. You're either spraying the gas on the charcoals and lighting it every second, or you're just relaxing and realizing that you can only live in one moment at a time. And that's why in sobriety, one day at a time, one moment at a time. I don't need to keep lighting the coals. They're going to be okay. Life's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay, metaphorically speaking. Sometimes there's difficult things. But if we realize that we can only live in this moment, I can only eat one steak at a time. I can only live in a couple of square feet at a time. And when we realize this, we don't need to keep stoking the fire. The fire's already there. You just can't see it. It's already there. You're going to be okay. Join the dance that is life, because it can be great. You don't have to swim upstream. You don't have to fight. You can relax, be sober, and be grateful. Have a good week. We'll see you next time. Go to talksober.com. Support the channel, what we're doing here. Get all kinds of cool stuff. Yellow button, or if you want to call, the gray button. See you guys next time.
Thank you, everybody.